Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next episode, exactly the 7th of You Are Where You Need to Be podcast. And we are going to talk about feeling unseen and misunderstood. So let's dive into that. I think this has been a big thing for me my entire life, and I didn't even realize. And I think a lot of people has this. It's called a wound because everyone or a lot of people has a need to feel understood and seen because our own core values and mentality is our identity. And if other people don't understand and accept and see that, that kind of gives us a faulty feeling and we feel we don't belong because those people don't understand and accept us, which is probably a primal instinct and fear where you would be like banished from the family or the tribe because you are different and you are craving the familiarity. So people tend to go towards to try and convince other people of their own opinion and mentality because they are so convinced that that's the right thing. Because if it wasn't, then the question comes who they are. Exactly. If other people don't agree with how you see things, then what's reality? Who they are? Where do they belong? Do you have any thoughts around this?
Well, it's interesting because for me, feeling unseen, of course, it comes from other people because, as you said, we are what we are with the package, what we are carrying around. And we have perceptions of how life is. We have some idea who we are or who other people are. And based on that, we are communicating and we also receive the communication. So for me, being unseen mostly felt in the field that I was always trying to help people and listen to people because I felt like that everybody needs to be heard. And it's really not happening so often because when there is a conversation, I wouldn't even call it a conversation because people just try to get the word and they try to say whatever they want to say and they never really listen to one another. So it's not an exchange of thoughts most of the time. So I thought that we are lacking that. And I was trying to connect with people by asking them questions and listening to them, which is a really nice thing. But the other way around, it usually never happened. And those are the moments where I really felt invisible. I think I thought that I have this role where I fit in, that I always have to be on the listening side and nobody really cares of what I have to say or what I would like to share. And that could hurt from time to time. And after a while, I just realized that it's up to me if I want to change on that. But for a long time, I just didn't. I listened. Then whenever I started a sentence and somebody interrupted me, I never finished it. So of course, based on that, I built up this kind of, I wouldn't say resentment. I would rather say disappointment and sadness that I was not interesting enough to be heard as well, even though I was the one who actually created it like that. So that's how I resonate with this topic mostly, because that was my part in it.
So interesting that you bring up the part where physically in a conversation you don't feel seen because people don't allow you to participate in an equal exchange of conversation, which is reciprocal. I was thinking, which is also part of that because people are not aware of the other person, that they should engage with this person as an equal and involve in connection where it's okay that the other person may have different thoughts or ideas and should be curious about it, but they probably are not even interested in it because they are so busy with their own identity and maintaining that and then making themselves heard, which is again their own wounds where they want to be heard. They want their own perspective of the world be seen. And in some cases, people do this loudly and aggressively. And then you and me, we are the kinds who don't speak up because we feel like it should be common sense to respect the other person, or even ask them, like, what is their opinion on the matter when a conversation comes up, involving the other person into the conversation. But unfortunately, people are functioning from their own wounds and trying to maintain somewhat a surface level feeling about themselves, which is about them feeling good about what they think. And they don't really actually care about anyone else around themselves, which is really, really sad. But the part actually I was thinking was when feelings, and what you mentioned is that you try and talk and ask questions, that this is your kind of love language with people, that you allow them to talk, you allow them to ask questions, and you allow them to answer, because this is how you care for people, this is how you're normal, and these people don't see and understand and value that. And this makes you feel unseen. And on top of that, that you don't set the boundary of, hey, I'm here as well, I would like to participate, because somewhere, I think in many cases, this wouldn't do anything. So I think I understand why you do it, because a lot of people who don't originally considerate you, just because you say that you would like to participate in the conversation or in the whole thing, they're not going to change their attitude about that.
Yeah, but what I was mentioning, it's rather in the past, because now if I want to participate in something, I already have the skills, and how to say, it's so stupid to say, but I have the courage to speak up that, hey, I'm speaking and I haven't finished it yet. Can I finish my sentence before you interrupt me? And I don't really let people interrupt me anymore, because before I did a lot, because that's what I learned, so to say. And if you let yourself to be interrupted, then of course the people will speak over you, because what they have to say, they feel that is more important. Everybody thinks that what they have to say is important, or it's even unconscious that there is a topic, you listen to the topic and you have thoughts in your head. Which want to get out. And you feel like if you don't say it now, you might forget about it. So that's why you really just want to interrupt and want to say whatever is on your mind. And it's really, I know that it's considered rude, but most people don't even realize that it's rude. And about the part where you mentioned that people don't really know me or like me, I would say it's the other way around, because whoever sits down with you and listens to you babbling about whatever, you actually gonna connect with right away, because wow, that person really listens to me and they make eye contact and they hear what I'm saying. So they connect with me, but not because of who I am, but because of what I give.
Yeah, that's true.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think I managed to explain what I'm focusing at right now. It's not about the connection itself. It's when it happens that you give your authentic self, and it's not being appreciated, not being seen. And have you never experienced that in a relationship or in a friendship, that you would be there being empathetic with someone or just being yourself, and then they would think that you would do something completely out of character, and then you are just like, what? This is not even me. Like, how can you say that? And this is what part I'm trying to bring up here, is where you feel deep down inside that they don't see you, they don't appreciate you, you feel unseen because they just don't understand you. And many cases, it also happens because we are not yet. And I'm not talking about definitely what we are now or who we are now. It's just a general picture and my memories as well about myself and the generic experience with people is that when we don't have the skills to know ourselves and we don't have the skills to express our needs and who we are actually, and we also don't even really know ourselves. And I'm aiming at mainly avoidance and more unaware type of people who actually are not living their authentic self. They are masking every day and they don't even notice. They're hiding from things and they constantly feel like people don't understand them. And the reason for that is actually because they don't also know themselves and they are not communicating. They think they do, but they are not. And then people behave reflecting to their actions or non-actions, and then they feel misunderstood. So it's hard.
Yeah, of course. But all of this is where it always goes back to. It comes from childhood. When a child's role in the family isn't based on who they are, but on what others need from them. Where do they fit in that picture, in that dynamic? And that's how they actually grow up. And if they never called out on it in a way which they can or are ready to accept, that they probably just roll through life using this kind of communication styles and tactics, I would say.
Yeah, because they haven't healed.
Yeah, because they are unconscious of it, actually. This is how they function. And they don't see anything wrong with it because they are used to it. They are coming from a family which was used to it as well.
Yeah.
And that's basically the biggest issue, because if that's your skill set, what you are going to adulthood with, then what can you expect? If you don't know yourself and you are playing a role, what kind of people are you going to meet? What kind of people you are going to allow in your life? And those people will reflect back what to you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And how I would try and visually describe this is that they kind of think that they are someone. For example, let's say that I believe within in myself that I am a marathon runner. But I'm physically, action-wise, do not do any kind of planning, workout, training to make that happen in reality. So a lot of people live in an ideal kind of imagined world and identity that they think they are. And they are also unable to communicate that, as well as they don't see that that's not actually the person who they are. And when people react to their actual actions that may hurt them, then they are like, but you don't understand me. Like, why do you do this? Like, I didn't mean that. But then they don't see that actually their actions are doing completely different thing than what they have in their minds.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you don't communicate what's going on inside you, then you cannot really expect other people to understand you. That's why I said this example, that I felt unseen because I was in the role of the helper and the listener. And then, of course, I was dissatisfied that why I'm never getting back or rarely getting back the same thing in return. But I didn't even meet people who were similar. I was unconsciously choosing people who always were the loud ones, who were always the extroverted ones, who always had something to say, something to speak about. And in such kind of company, of course, nobody will notice me, because generally I will not feel like joining the conversation most of the time. Because the other thing is, I don't really like surface topics. And most of the conversations are about surface topics, like how was your work, or what did you study, or what happened here, what happened there. And I don't join those conversations most of the time.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for something where I can actually, in my opinion, add some value to that conversation, which has a little bit of depth. But the other way around, depth, sometimes it's very boring for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing, that you have to find your crowd after some time, because if you don't, you will always feel invisible or unseen. It's really nice to meet people and get friends with people who are so different from you in any way, but you also need the people who are similar, so you have a support system and you have some understanding as well. I'm not saying that somebody who is completely different from you cannot have understanding from, but it's more difficult,
Yeah.
I would say.
I think also the level of the understanding is also matters, not just the variety, because someone can be, as you mentioned, like different but have the same depth as you. And I think those can be really awesome connections because they show different perspective of life that can like be triggering sometimes, but it's very interesting. Let's investigate that. And then I'm really glad to see that this other person is doing it or talks about it. And then I will see how I feel about it. Maybe I will start to own it as well, or maybe not. It's like trying on shoes. But then other kind of companies, they just will never ever see your levels. And that's the worst kind of, for me at least, where I feel completely unseen. But where I wanted to get with this topic is how to be okay with this. And that's the big realization that I used to be so frustrated and I tried to convince people that they should do this and that because that's the ultimate answer for life or whatever, even though I didn't do it, it's the preaching. And because just for some reason, I was also there building some kind of identity about myself that wasn't actually me. And when people would dismiss it, maybe it was coming from some kind of wound that I wanted to matter, like, for example, helping people or chatting with people. And it was never actually about them. So the same now, this was the opposite side, that people do things and don't understand you. That has nothing to do about you very often, as well as sometimes it has because you are not communicating. So, which depends on the people, because after a while you learn about people, you start to see them, even if they are unable to communicate. And you just understand them based on their patterns, and you don't need any kind of communication from them because you understand psychology and people's behaviors. But once I learned that people do everything regardless of who you are or what you say or what you do, it comes from within them. They do it for themselves. So if they treat you badly, it has nothing to do with you. If they say ugly things to you, it has nothing to do with you. If they don't listen to your advice, it has nothing to do with you. Your advice might be still very valuable and useful, but those people are not there yet to be able to use it. Or who am I to tell people advices, And that's the thing. Maybe I should just be listening to my friends instead of giving out unsolicited advices. But the thing is that realization to feel that finally I can detach my own worth, because also from childhood, I never got to learn that what I think, my identity, my opinions, my perspective is valuable no matter what people say or what I do, and I don't have to earn it. It exists. Yeah. And since then, it's a miraculous thing that I can just not feel other people's comments because that's them. It's okay.
Yeah, but the thing is what you're saying about that you, based on your value, if people listen to your advice or not, and it felt bad if they didn't because you felt like that they don't value you, right? So it's also coming from people pleasing behavior. There are so many ways of people pleasing, and this is one of them. The other one, what I was doing, it's also one of them, because just how you describe yours, for me, it was exactly like if somebody didn't appreciate how much I cared and listened and was there to support, then I felt that they don't appreciate me. And that's when I felt that whatever I did, it was completely in vain. And just like how you say, I had to unlearn this, that I can give support, I can listen to people, and I don't have to expect anything in return, and that's fine. I just give it because I want to give it, because it feels good for me till this day. And
Mm-hmm.
so I never said that I changed that. I still really like to listen to people. But I chose a circle of friends who I can actually have this vice versa. And there are people in my life who, because of that, I can give freely, because I am also heard also by myself. I'm also understood. I'm understood by my circle of friends or family, so to say, and I don't need it from everyone anymore. And it's not going to base my value in life. I don't feel unseen anymore. Even if I go and I meet a group of people and it turns out that I don't really feel like joining the conversation or I'm not included that much, I still don't feel left out because I see it for what it is. I was there. I felt good because of the activity which we've been doing or a movie we've been watching, and I don't need to actually be a part of it more than that. And that's fine. And when I want to be, then I am. And
Yeah.
that's it. And I really interested in how many sides this coin has. Because for us, this is like that. But there are people who are entertainers, for example, and it's also coming from people pleasing, right? Because they want the attention from the entertainment. That was their role probably in their family life, and that's what they carried on. And if they don't get it, they are disappointed. There are so many forms of this, actually, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are different. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. For example, that's a really good example. And all of the core points of these is that we never were actually okay with who we are at the first place. Because
We were not accepted
yes,
of who we
because
were.
it
Nobody
had to be, yeah, it had to come from external validation, our value, our worth. And now, even as adults, if someone doesn't include us in a chat or something, then it's like, oh, they don't care about me. They don't see my value or anything. But then I'm looking at them now and I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. They just don't care and it's okay. And they don't have to care. and
yeah.
and I also just recently experienced, it was very lovely moment that I was almost excluded from a conversation in a very, some years ago it would upset me, and how I experienced it was like, I don't care, I'm still participating, I'm here, I comment, and if they don't want to hear it, I'm just me, I'm existing, and then that's it. If someone hears it, they hear it. And then I played a game that we were playing, and it didn't upset me at all. And it's such liberating feeling because you just detach yourself from that expectation that people have to value you. People have to give you some kind of attention, because now you are just, okay, you know that whatever you have to say has value, and those who are not willing to hear it and value it are not your kind of people. That's it.
Yeah, or they are not there, or they're never going to be there, or they don't agree with your ways, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to convince everyone. You don't have to expect everyone to lead the same life and the same value system, same thoughts what you have.
Yeah.
It's completely fine if somebody wants to jump back to the mud or or whatever. Okay, this is an example when it comes out in a negative way, but there are also many positive ways when they don't live like us or don't think like us. Even me and you, we have different way of thinking in so many things, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
So actually, that's what matters, that feeling unseen is coming from wanting external validation.
Yeah.
And the more you are okay with who you are, the less external validation you want, actually.
Yeah.
And you will find your sources or ways to say what you want to say. And whoever want to listen to it, they are free to do so.
Yeah. At any level of our lives, actually. And
Indeed.
I could compare this to relationships as well, romantic relationships, because it seems like everything, the same way as someone may say an ugly comment about you, it has nothing to do about you. The same way we are causing everything to ourselves. So this crave that you also mentioned, wanting validation, is the same as wanting to be seen by a romantic partner, wanting them to see how much we are giving, how much we are there. And then we mistake it with we giving love, us giving love, because this is what we were conditioned that this is what we should do to get attention or attachment or anything. And we think that we are in love, we care about this person, but what we actually do is trying to meet our own needs through giving.
Yeah, but that's completely okay as well, you know. This unconditional love maybe exists in parenthood, but I'm not even sure that it exists there. It's not, it's always a give and take, and that's fine. You expect something out of that person you start a relationship with or a friendship with. It is an exchange.
Yes.
And it's not something terrible to say. It's fine. That's how the world runs. That's how humanity runs, on exchange. And
Yeah.
of course, you have your tools on how to show your care and love. But you have to understand that not everybody is going to give it that way. And if you want it that way, you have to communicate how you actually feel loved.
Yes.
And if you can communicate it with that person and you can work on it, both of you, then you know that it's going to be a successful relationship. But if you are just running into walls all of the time and then you feel invisible because your needs are not met, then you still need to turn back to yourself and ask yourself, okay, what am I doing here then?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
then voila.
both romantic and, let's say, work relationship, flatmates, friends, and so on, the main goal is to recognize who is your crowd, who is your person. Because very often, yes, as I said, yeah, we do these things because this is what we learned to meet our own needs, and that's okay. The problem starts when we don't recognize that we are keep trying this with the wrong people. Like, they're not wrong, it's
For
just not
us,
your
wrong, yeah.
kind. That is not compatible with you because they're not gonna see for who you are. And then that's when it happens that we disappear because, oh my God, I'm trying everything, I'm giving out everything, and they still don't do what should be done in a relationship. Yeah. But then, yeah, that's what I think people fail to recognize, and we just keep hitting our head in the wall because we don't see it's not an actual door we could walk through if we want to walk through something, or to
Of
get to
course.
somewhere.
Actually, it's there in the beginning when you're talking to someone. It's everything is there in the beginning, how they are going to be, how they see things, how they communicate, how they're gonna treat you. Because people like to talk, you just have to listen.
Yeah.
So when you have a guy, for example, who talks down on women, who sees women as objects, and he's friends with you, and then maybe something later turns into more romantic, what do you think that guy, how is going to treat you?
Yeah.
Like a princess because you're going to be the exception? No,
Yeah.
you're not going to be the exception, because that's how that person sees the world. That's how that person sees women. And you are a woman. You are not going to be an exception. I could say a lot of other examples, but it's really there. So you just have to like yourself a little bit to understand your needs and your values. And then the less and less you will feel unseen.
Yeah. And we stop expecting from the wrong people to see us because we're okay.
Yeah, because it's gonna be a dead end. So
yeah.
So what for?
Yeah.
Like, for example, I don't know why this comes to my mind, but I tried some dating app experiences myself. Never again and not anymore. But it was interesting because there are so many kind of people there, and you see and you test yourself actually what you are going to be take out of how they communicate with you. And then there was a guy, actually I wasn't really interested in any of them, because honestly, for me, dating apps are just pictures and some text, and that doesn't really raise any interest. You don't see them in person. You don't see how they interact their hour or nothing. So, of course, it's hard to get attached or to get interested. And that's why I was not really responsive. And that guy took it as a positive thing. Look, there is a girl who is so busy that she rarely has time. You are someone for me. And I was like, no, believe me, no, not at all. And it's not about that. I just not really feeling like that we have anything in common and that we should continue this communication, because we are very different. And I see that you don't really want to see me. You don't really ask important questions. And the only thing you see is that I am busy, so I don't respond. And you think that I don't have much time, and that's the woman you are looking for, and I'm not that.
Yeah.
And now I know these kind of things. Before, no.
Yeah.
Because I was such a people pleaser that I always wanted to just understand and see everybody as they are, even if it was completely out of my value system.
Yeah,
But
I
no.
know. I think that here we are digging down to the deep levels of why people are not seeing that other people don't understand them is also like they have no idea what is it that they should be looking for. And also these dating apps, as you just said, it's just pictures and images, and you are aware of this, but a lot of people are not, and they don't really realize why is it that they don't start to really properly engage with women or guys or things like that, because it's so fake. Like, how can you? I do believe that it could still work if people were more aware and they would make a conscious choice that, okay, I read the profile of these people and then I know what is it that I'm looking for. I analyze and then I give it a chance consciously, because finding a partner is a conscious choice, like love and everything. It's not about getting attached through internet, because that's fake. That's based on your imagination. So
yeah, it happened to me, and it's completely that.
If I would have more hands, I would be putting them all up. I think many of us are guilty of that. Literally all of my relationships started like that, except for my high school ones, because that was the good old-fashioned way, when someone comes and pokes you in the ribs and they annoy the hell out of you, and and then you still stick with them because that's the only person paying attention to you.
Yes.
Oh God, good memories.
Right.
Yeah.
So many things to look back to how we changed.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing. I think dating apps is it's not exactly related to the topic, but I think it is still somehow because people still look for the external validation there. But then how the hell can you get external validation through a dating app? Like people can like you. Yes, where you see who likes you can get that. But for example, in my cases, that just freaks me out because I see majority of the people that I would not go out with, I'm not interested in. I wouldn't like this sounds really ugly, but this is how brain works. You know, you even in real life, you see people and you get interested in the people you like by the look, or they do something for you. And that's when you start to look into it deeper and see what kind of people they are. But this app is only focusing on that. So like, how do guys get validation, for example?
How do people get validation from likes on social media? It's exactly the same.
Oh no, I
If you
understand that. That one I understand.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. For some people, it's enough if they open the dating app in the evening when they are bored, they swipe right, right, yeah. Yeah, I'm such an expert. I even forgot if it's left or right. I guess it's right.
Guys swipe right to every woman, and women swipe left to almost every guy. So that's correct.
Yeah, yeah. And then guys or some even women, let's say people, and they get validation from seeing how many people swipe them right.
Yeah.
Even if they have no intention of getting to know them or even text them or meet them at all. They just need that sort of validation. That's why so many people, for example, emotionally cheat as well. Because they think that's not such a bad thing to do because that's not physical. And then they open Snapchat or Instagram or hell knows which app, and they start conversations with people who maybe are not even real. And if they get a conversation out of them, even if it's just shallow, then they think, oh, I could get something with that person. I have a chance. And then I'm someone. That's the external validation. And I had a boyfriend who needed crazy amount of external validation. And he even told me in the beginning, and I was like, yeah, but with me, he will change. Yeah, he still did it when he was with me. And I always had the intuition. I just knew it that he's doing it, even if I didn't see it, because I'm not the person who is gonna go through your phone or wants to ask you to give your phone to her. No, but I still felt that all of the things were off. Sometimes I've seen messages flashing up from people who I had no idea who they are. So the point is what I just said like 10 minutes before, that people will tell you who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's not your value system, you don't have to go any further just because they seem so cute or whatever. Because at the end, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think we're getting back to the potential. Before we get back to the potential, I just wanted to go back to how do people get validation? Like, because I think you did pay for the premium, right? So you did see who likes you while you were testing. But I never did that because I felt like I'm not going to pay for this, So
but then you just see blurred image.
So
a lot of blurred people.
Yeah. They look very handsome. It's like the motorcyclist guy, all Top Gear, and then oh, you're so handsome. You don't even see his face, Anyway, so yeah, because I did definitely not feel validation at all. So I was just wondering, how does that feel for other people? Maybe it's not something that I'm craving. Even when I meshed with someone, I started to feel validation when I rarely had someone that seemed like we can have a proper conversation, and they would, I thought, would see me for who I am, but that was not actually what happened.
You know how it could feel for you in your case? Imagine if you made like an animation, because that's your work,
Yeah.
and it got so much likes and so much positive validation from other people. How would that feel?
I think my imposter syndrome wouldn't let me feel it. I don't know. I really struggle. I think, especially when it's a crowd, I can't receive it. When it's a one-to-one person that feels like someone really truly sees me, that's when I feel like I get validation, I think. And
Okay,
when I
that's
just
also
randomly see a lot of people like liking my content, a lot of people, well, let's get there. That's the attitude there.
it was just a guess.
Manifestation. Yeah. So I don't really feel like it's, or maybe let's get back to this later.
It's okay. Okay, for me, I would say, because I also don't understand why you get validation from so many people liking you, but I understand I would feel validated if I, for example, wrote something and it would get to many people in a positive way, and they would tell me that, because I would feel that I achieved something nice.
Okay.
So I guess this can be the same feeling when for a bit more shallow people, it feels that random people who exist or not exist like them on social media.
Yeah. I think that's, I don't know. Maybe I'm attaching different feeling to the word validation, and that's why I struggle recognizing it.
Can be.
We can get back to this later.
Yeah, it's completely fine. It's completely fine. I just wanted to, because you said you don't understand, and I just wanted to find the point where you would maybe
Yeah.
understand, because you would get that feeling.
Yeah. No, I
But
really
then,
liked the thought line and everything. I do understand how other people do it. I don't, that's the weird thing about me, I think, is that I understand other people. I don't understand still certain parts of myself. And from my if I view something from my perspective, I do understand when people feel insecure about their looks and how they get the validation through that. But I think I did not explain this properly. I was looking at this from my own perspective, why I don't understand, because I did not experience, or I don't recall, or maybe I did, I just didn't recognize it. So that's the part.
but that's something for you to think about.
Yay!
Until next time, maybe you will come up with some
I think it will need
ideas.
more time for that. But yes.
That's okay. That's completely fine. So getting back to the topic, people, I think, learn that they have to perform in a way to feel seen. And that can be a really different kind of ways. It has a lot of variety, but we all learn something, right?
Mm.
And then we are doing that performance and we would like to achieve something with that, right? Attention or understanding or feeling seen or etc. etc. What we are coming from childhood with, that most of the time is a really false way of doing things and is a very limited skill set. And people
Yeah.
walk through life with that limited skill set. And I met so many people who were really sad because they felt lonely. They felt that they cannot connect with anyone. But on the other hand, they pushed away everybody.
Uh-huh.
That they still felt the loneliness, because what that person said to me, that he's a good guy. This is not what I'm saying, because now I know he wasn't, but he felt himself as a good guy. And he just wanted to prove it so bad that it turned against him. And at the end, that's why people never actually saw him, but it was really important for him. He hated people, but he loved people, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh. Why do you say he hated people, and how did that come across?
From arrogance, that when I was trying to tell him ideas or how to meet people or connect with people, he said that nobody is on his level and everybody is boring and everybody's shallow and he just cannot do that. But then how do you think you will meet people if you don't even try, right? Then and then you cannot blame people for the life you are choosing yourself to live, right?
So he's the kind of person who is kind of self-aware at the level that he is more deeper than some people, but he is not self-aware enough to recognize that he is not allowing himself to be open to try and experience pain through getting to know people and getting disappointed. So an avoidant, literally. And then categorizes everyone into a box where everyone is an idiot, but still craving for connection, which he can't because he's not fighting his fear of vulnerability and fear of intimacy with people. And because of that, he has this very bitter view. And that also protection. I think ChatGPT told me this and I really liked it the other day. Is like protection. When people are very protective is actually very harmful because I can't recall, unfortunately, back word by word what he was saying, but still the meaning is that it doesn't allow the person to receive information that helps them open up and grow and see things differently.
Yeah, I think he was a classic fearful avoidant because he had so much anxiety and he showed that anxiety towards people who actually wanted to leave him behind and wanted space from him. And he was crazily clinging on them. And he never understood no. He never understood closure. And he made a narrative for himself that those other person is to blame. But when the connection was still alive, all he was doing is trying to sabotage it, probably unconsciously, trying to find the faults in that person and trying to create a lot of drama about nuances. So yeah, I think he was a classic fearful avoidant in a bit more less self-aware way, I would say. Because he was not self-aware. He was very emotional, but not self-aware.
I think we did talk about this topic earlier, but I think is that self-awareness has different levels as well. Because I myself and other people as just self-aware doesn't mean that you know everything. It means that you are aware of certain things, but it doesn't definitely mean that you can also work on those things as well as changing them and aware of everything. So I had different periods of my life where I do remember I was completely not self-aware. I wouldn't even use that phrase at all because it's just blindly going and hurting people and meeting my own needs because that's what was my normal. And then when I started to realize certain things, yet I couldn't change them and causing a lot of shame about it and so on. And then when I started to change, but still certain things not yet. So I think it has so many little steps. That's why I use to people, because I did not realize at some point of my life that people are idiots, as well as that I'm very naive. Nothing. I was just like a jar of pickle, just existing. That's really not aware of anything.
Going with the flow, not in that way, but in the other more literal way. That's just the wind were taking you wherever and you were just accepting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what you were saying is also true, and it's important that you can start to be aware of things, but you still cannot act on them because you are not having the, well, strength yet to face
And the
100%, or
tools,
yeah, tools, or to lose people
practice.
if you are
Yeah.
getting more aware of it. And that's why so many people say that, yeah, I know what I'm doing is wrong and I know that this is not the way, but I don't feel the strength yet, or I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel the push yet to change on it. And maybe I will change at some point, but I don't really feel at the moment that I really need to.
Mm.
So yeah, I think you need to have a big push and a big tragedy or a huge hurt in your life to finally say that, okay, enough is enough,
Yeah.
and you want to actively look into your problems and to really actively change them, because
Mm-hmm.
it is so difficult and hard to say no to the things which you said yes before.
Mm.
It's extremely difficult. And it's always be there in you whenever you say no, that, yeah, but I wanted to say yes, but it's
Yeah.
better not to. It's like you have a narrator in your head and you have then somebody else who says something completely different from what you were thinking,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's about the neuroplasticity that we have been wiring our brain, our neural paths, literally enforcing our brain and giving the feedback that every day what we are doing is keeping us alive, even if it's not the best thing, but we're still alive, we're moving and so on, even if not very healthy. But that's what's enough for evolution. You just have to stay alive and that's it. But that's now not our standard anymore. And I have noticed in my latest encounter with this avoidant person is that how this actually works. And since I know about how we are wiring and rewiring our brain, it totally makes sense that for 9 months in my life, I chose to nonstop think about this person, fantasize what we are going to do, and so on, based on very little actions and real events. And as well as because of the emotional ups and downs and sometimes like dopamine overflow, my brain would get the feedback that, oh, yes, thinking about this person is worth it because eventually we get this boost, and then it just gets deeper into your brain. And then once this person is out of your life, you're like, oh, I keep thinking about this person. I keep missing. And especially like they kind of meet your needs at a certain level and you are missing those traits and so on. You are missing the potential, you're missing what you were imagining and so on, and even the little experiences as well. And this is literally wired into your brain. So imagine this was just 9 months and it took me almost the same time to finally let go of it. And it's still not 100% done. But then what we have been practicing since our little childhood, it's literally our nervous system is against it, because you have to forget, unlearn what is it that you were doing. And it just comes so automatically. And I never understood this. I used to ask myself, like, why is it that I recognize something and I do it sooner than I can think about it? Because it's wired in your brain.
But you know what came to my mind about this now? It's like a smoker who put down the cigarette for the last time. And it's not that they don't want to light a cigarette again. It's just that they now wire their brain to override it and to say no.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because they don't want to say yes, but they know that it's harmful. So it's better to say no. And this exactly every time how I feel where I'm getting into a situation where I would have said yes or I would have acted empathetic in the past, and I know that I can't anymore.
Yeah.
And it still feels like, oh. But then I walk away, and the moment I walked away, I already feel more relieved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, that was the good decision, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to see like a visual representation what is actually happening when you are feeling like saying yes, but you end up saying no. Like if we could just look into our brain and see what the neural paths are looking like, if it lights up, maybe one road starts to go like, oh, I'm gonna go to the destination, and then the other one is like stronger now, and then faster, and then that will like get to the destination sooner. And I don't know. I'm trying to.
Yeah, it's so interesting to imagine that like you had this wire for such a long time, and then it has a route and it goes like this always. And then after a while, after you put so much time in it and you made so much effort, something just
Like, boing.
redirects it to another route, to the
Yeah.
safe route for you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's still there and it's still going to come each time, I think, till the end of our life, because it's hard to rewire decades
Mm.
of a behavior.
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone ever could rewire it in a way that they can easily say that, yeah, I was like this and I was thinking like that, but I don't think like this at all anymore. And I don't think that's how it works. It's just like now you know better and you know how to handle a situation, so it benefits you more.
You know what? When we're gonna be like 90 years old, we're gonna get back to this topic and say how we feel about saying no to people. We may say, oh, I don't give a damn about them anymore, just, I'm just me, that's it. Who knows?
We certainly have to get back to it, yeah, because of
Yeah.
course we change a lot. But at the moment, that's how I think,
Yeah.
because that's my experience, and I seen many people's experience is the same. So that's why it's very difficult to change it, and that's why you actually cannot really convince anybody to do it, because this has to be your decision to make, because it's so hard.
Yeah.
You cannot do it for another person, just for yourself.
Yeah. This was a huge realization for me, is that coming from a wound, is that, oh, they're gonna be different for me. They're gonna learn, they're gonna see how good I am, and they will do everything, But then it's so damn hard to change. For me, how can I expect another human being to be different for someone else? When someone else wanted me to change, I was like, leave me alone now, or I'm gonna do something bad. That's we can't really. That's the hard part. We have to recognize, why is it that we expect other people to change and we don't even see our own faults and limitations? It's very hypocritical. Yeah.
So what I would still add to this topic to wrap up, if you don't have anything else to add to it, is that healing doesn't begin when someone else finally see you. It starts when you stopped abandoning yourself just to be acceptable for others. And you have to realize that if you keep shrinking, you will never take up the space that you were born to fill in the first place.
Yeah.
And feeling unseen is not a flaw. It's often the residue of a system, a family, relationship, society that wasn't able to meet your emotional truth. But the truth is still there, and you deserve to be known, not just useful. So you have to give yourself the chance to get to know you, really.
Yeah. I think we said it all.
Okay. Then thank you so much for listening. And if you have any thoughts about the subject or you have stories to share, please leave it in the comments. We would like to read them and answer them. And see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.